the cost of living is forcing South Africans to dig deeper into their pockets.
The cost of the basic household food basket has increased by nearly 9% over the last year.
South Africans continue to feel the pinch of rising costs as the cost of petrol and diesel increase.
Meanwhile, the bread basket keeps shrinking as the cost of food continues to climb.
Adding on to the rise in food, fuel, transport costs and electricity prices.
Current pressure created by the rise in inflation is taking a toll on consumers, with poor households taking the most strain.
The prices go up, the money you have in your pocket is less, and then you have to make these awful choices about shall I feed my child or shall we go hungry for longer periods.
Consumers don't have space anymore in their budgets to make cuts. I mean, they've been doing this for a very long time, and since the pandemic has started, they've had to make changes. But they can only make changes as you know, to a certain point, and then there is just nothing else that can be done.
Also forcing them to actually consider going into debt to survive on an ongoing basis.
What does this mean for the average South African?
From higher electricity and water tariffs to higher costs of food and fuel, it now costs more than ever to survive.
Good morning, South Africa. My name is Solly Msimanga. I'm the national spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance. Today we are coming live to you from outside the offices of the Minister of Finance. The cost of living has gotten higher and higher with every moment. Food prices keep on increasing, and South Africans are bearing the brunt of our failed economy. At the same time, the price of electricity has more than doubled. It is becoming more expensive for those South Africans who have the luxury of having a job to get to work. It is even more expensive for those who are looking for work to get to those work opportunities. It has become more expensive for us to feed our families. As if that is not enough, fuel prices have also more than doubled. So we are here outside the office of the Minister of Finance, and I'm joined by the DS Shadow Minister of Women, Youth and Children. Leslie, why are we here?
Solly, today we are outside the Minister of Finance's office to say enough is enough. Food prices are too high and we are currently facing a hunger crisis. We are here to urge the Minister that in a week from now, on the 26th of October, when he delivers his medium-term budget, that he do something about the rising food prices. Enough with these ministers sitting and doing nothing, and more with using the tools he has to make a difference so that people in this country can eat.
Leslie, on that point, who's to blame for the state of our economy and the ever-rising cost of living?
Solly, it's a simple one. The ANC is to blame. They are an incapable state that is completely broken. Corruption and all the things that they do is unacceptable to move forward. So it is the ANC that is to blame, and it's the minister. That is why we are outside of his office to hand over a memorandum to say that food prices need to be cut because we have a hunger crisis that we are currently facing. What is important is for voters to go out there and vote for a government that is capable and that cares for the people, like the Democratic Alliance.
And on that note of a government that cares, what are some of the solutions that the DA has brought table to show that we care and we want to bring relief to South Africans?
Well, Solly, today outside the DA leaders are going to be speaking about our 5-step plan that has been costed and that are practical, that can actually make a difference in this country to ensure that food prices is cut down so that children don't go to sleep hungry and people don't go to sleep hungry anymore. So do stay tuned for the speeches as they outline the 5 key steps that we have produced. Solly, we are a solution-orientated party, so we're always coming up with the solutions.
Definitely, and on that note, it's quite important to showcase that these solutions that the DA is bringing to the table, their intention is to bring relief to poor South Africans that are struggling to make ends meet, that are struggling to get to work, that are struggling to feed their families. And it is because we want to bring that relief so that the cost of food can be much cheaper and much affordable, so that the cost of transporting food can also be less strenuous on these South Africans, and most importantly, so that we can bring the relief to these families and make sure that we are feeding them. So on that note, we'll now be joining our Chief Whip Sigwe Gwahube, who's our program director for the day, to take us through for today's program.
Viva Solly Msimanga, viva! Viva Tia, viva! Viva Tia, viva! Ayaya Tia, ayaya! Ayaya Tia, ayaya! Down with Ramaphosa, down! Down with expensive food prices, down! Down with this corrupt ANC government, down! Punching an ANC, punching! Okay, we're going to introduce to the stage a parliamentary boss, who is in charge in parliament. She's a leader, she's leading our movement, and she's leading our parliamentary operations. With a huge round of applause. Happen, that's my boss. Sopa. Ayaya ushagazi ayaya. Ayaya ushagazi halala. 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 Gebute damatore. Hey, I'm still on this track. Halala. Gebute damatore. Halala. Halala. Gebute damatore.
Viva GA, viva! Viva Democrats, viva! Democrats, this morning we are here to send a very clear message that we are not going to accept a government that wants to see us dead. We are not going to accept a government that will starve us until we die. And so today we are here to tell the Minister of Finance that it is possible to relieve us of the high cost of living. The ANC will have you know, Democrats, that it's within our control. There's nothing we can do. But bayaxoka, bayayiba imali, bayayazi into yobana bangasikhulula babe befuna. Abafuni ngoba basifunela bona ezimali. Sizothi ke namhlanje into yobana le mali ngeyethu. Le mali ngeyethu anizusenza lonto. Asizufa imali khona. Sumiyeka urhulumente anixokisa athi imali ayikho. Imali khona eMzantsi Afrika qha bayityela kwezi office. Imali khona but bayityela kubo for the politically connected. Sithi thina xa sesifuna imali ye-services ingabikho ngoba bona bayitya ngokwabo. Sizothi ke namhlanje done with this sort of thing. Sizofuna imali, sifuna into yobana abantu bethu mabaphangele, sifuna into yoba ukutya kuye kudura, sifuna into yoba itransport iye kudura, sifuna into yoba abantwana bethu baye ezikolweni, samiyekeni utya imali yabantu. Viva DA, viva! Viva DA, viva! Democrats, I'm going to call a young man up on the stage. umuntu omchaman, umuntu ofresh, umuntu okhafukhafu. Ndasolitha yenu entsha, uLiam Jacobs uzazongixelela bathina abantwana. Uzazongixelela baluthina ulutsha. Liam Jacobs, come up.
Viva Liam Jacobs, viva! Viva! Viva Daso, viva! Viva! Lead, young man, lead! Lead! Pata, Liam, pata!
Tata! Ngena mtocha ngena!
Ngena!
Niyabasabana!
Asiwazali!
Siyabafuna! Akasimbona ukuthi awazi ukugijima sithi Theo mama Theo yes mama Theo kuta
Amandla Dilly ding, dilly dong. Democrats, we are gathered here today in the beautiful city of Tshwane. Now, Democrats, when a child goes to an institution of higher learning, they are going to realize more than just their dreams. What they are doing is they are transforming their living situations at home. That is what they are doing. And in saying so, we must acknowledge something that is very critical. When I say this, we must acknowledge that it's about more than just them. It is about their families. It is about their communities. And it is about the future of the Republic of South Africa. So now when I say that, what I also want to say is that I have a few questions that I'd like to pose to this minister. I want to ask, Minister, how on earth do you expect students to concentrate on their studies when all we can think about is how empty our stomachs are? How on earth do you expect students to graduate with minds full of knowledge and skills when our stomachs are empty? And how on earth do you expect to see a South Africa, a prosperous, a flourishing South Africa, when all we are is starved of opportunities, starved of jobs, and starved of food itself? And you know, ministers will have the audacity to lecture us about NSFAS. That same NSFAS that pays 1,500 for food allowance when the average household food basket costs 4,500. And it doesn't stop there. That household food basket continues to rise and rise and rise. Everything continues to rise. The price of milk, the price of bread, the price of oil, everything. But do you know what doesn't rise? The ability and the chance of a young South African to realize their dreams. That is what doesn't rise because of this government. So my fellow South Africans, there must be an alarm bell that's ringing in your head now. And I'm sure you can hear it in your mind and feel it in your soul. And I'm sure that you don't know exactly what that is, but I'm going to tell you what that is today. It is the rallying cry of millions and millions of South Africans who want to take back their futures. It is the rallying cry of millions and millions of South Africans who want to be able to dream again. That's what that is. And I'm going to say this. We've been starving for far too long. And this hunger is something that's not just going to stay in our stomachs. It is hunger that is going to translate into change. It is hunger that is going to motivate South Africans from border to border, from coast to coast, from town to town, from city to city, to go out in our numbers and throw the ANC out of government in 2024. It is this hunger that will inspire young leaders from across South Africa to take hands with their fellow South Africans as we walk forward to a better tomorrow. And it is this hunger that will not only cause us to cut food prices, but to cut the ANC out of government. So on behalf of all students, I'm going to say this right now. We are fed up. We are fed up with all of the nonsense that this ANC government has been feeding us ever since we were born. And that is why we are not only demanding, but why it is that we will ensure that this government cuts food prices now. Because quite frankly, whether or not this government cuts food prices, I'm going to tell you this much. It is going to see young people from across South Africa, as I said, from border to border, from town to town, from city to city, from Messina all the way to Cape Town. Rise up. And when we rise up, we are rising up to take back our future. We are rising up to take back our right to dream. And we are rising up to throw out this incompetent, apathetic, out of touch and corrupt ANC government. Amandla! 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 When we say dilly ding, we say dilly dong. Thank you.
Yababona abantu abatsha baqhafuqhafu kanjani? Yabona uba i-future yethu noko iqhafuqhafu nayo. Sambiza nomnye umuntu omtsha namhlanje uspokesperson wethu somlomo. uSolly Malathi sithi makazosirhabulisa. Izangena Solly Malathi ngena. Ngena Solly Malathi ngena.
Ngena. Ayeye youth endala ayeye.
I'll call you Ndala. Either you are youth or Ndala. There is no confusion here. Viva DA, viva! Viva! Viva DA, viva!
Viva!
Down with the cost of living, down!
Down!
Down with electricity price increases, down!
Down!
Down with the ever increasing price of fuel, down!
Down!
Hey, lemonade! Why lemonade? Life yatura man. Things are expensive. And we know that most of us who are here are either breadwinners in our families or we look after more than our own families. And we know it's hard for all of us, at least those who are not in government. It's hard for all of us. It is expensive to buy electricity and you are not even sure whether you'll get that electricity or not. It is expensive to get to work for the few South Africans. And it's even more expensive because you must find money for transport, you must find money to get to interviews, and you are not even guaranteed that you'll get that opportunity because deployment. From qualified to comrades. So we are here as the DA Democrats because we care about South Africans. We are here because we care about the suffering who work hard to provide not only for their children but their whole families. And we are here, unlike the party that we are here with solutions. And those solutions are to guide the government in making the decisions that will help us reduce the pain and the taxes that are making life so expensive. So we come here with 5 solutions. To this government, cut the fuel price and the fuel levy so that transportation will no longer be that expensive. We are saying to this government, stop this aid to Cuba while there are South Africans who are starving. Why do you want to play an international machonisa while people are suffering here in South Africa? And we are doing this because you can't be trying to save the world while your own backyard is suffering daily. And a responsible government will always make sure that its people, it provides them with the relief. So we are coming here with those solutions because we're proactive. We are a party that is serious also about governing, because these solutions are solutions that if we were in national government, we would implement. And we are not asking for much. These are things that the government of the day can do if they had that care and the political will.
So we are here to say, down with the rising cost of living, down. Down with electricity price increases, down. Down with the ever-increasing price of fuel, down. So Democrats, what we must do after here is that we are going to fight this rising cost of living in the street. And we will fight it in Parliament. And if needs be, we will also take the fight to the union buildings. Because that is where the fight is. So when we go back to our communities, we must mobilize our neighbors, we must mobilize our communities, they must sign the petition, but most importantly, let's make sure that all those who are qualified to vote, register to vote, and we must take this government out of office and usher a new government that will care about all of you. Thank you.
Viva Dieu, viva! Viva! Viva Solly Msimanga, viva! Viva! Selector. Are you ready to sing? Chala. Chala
We have this afternoon, this morning, Dr. Dion George, the future Minister of Finance, how can this government make sure that people are not starving? He's going to come and tell them, if you want our help, we are ready to help you, but you have to want to save the people of South Africa. Dr. George, please come up and tell the people in Ndobana how
Viva Dion George, viva!
Fellow Democrats, before the COVID-19 pandemic arrived, our economy was already in trouble because government mismanaged our economy. After COVID, household budgets are facing even more strain, resulting from government's irrational lockdown policies, a slow economic recovery, hostile anti-poor economic policies, failure to provide reliable electricity, and basic service delivery failures, all of which have left millions of South Africans unemployed. We condemn the government's failure to act with haste to address the plight of tens of millions of poverty-stricken South Africans. The social cost of ignoring this crisis has been dire and far outweighs the cost of interventions to bring relief. ANC elites don't need to cut back on their luxuries paid for by poor South Africans, while more and more households say they can't afford to put enough food on the table and must cut back on basic necessities and face a daily struggle to survive. Today, millions of people are suffering relentlessly due to the pain and indignity and deprivations caused by hunger. Wow. Vegetable cooking oil is up 65%. White maize meal 26%. Tinned pilchards in tomato sauce up 43%. And brown bread 24%. Our resistance is growing. Civil society organizations, education experts, and student governing bodies have joined the call for action. Thousands of distressed citizens have signed the DA's position to cut food prices and have submitted their comments calling for government to intervene. The sentiment of the public is clear. We condemn government's failure to attend to the needs of citizens and respond to the cost of living. 81% of households are skipping at least one daily meal, while 41% say they can't feed their families anymore, which has resulted in starvation and an increased risk to social stability. Millions of hungry school children are battling to concentrate and learn, and increased malnutrition is leading to reduced productivity in the workplace, obesity, and diet-related diseases. Worse still, people are starving to death. The minister will table his medium-term budget policy statement next week. This presents an opportunity to adjust the budget and to set out his policy direction. The DA's plan to address the growing hunger crisis consists of 5 realistic, tangible interventions that would bring meaningful relief to millions of vulnerable households. Each of these proposals is implementable and each must be given consideration. We demand that government removes VAT from chicken, beef, tinned beans, wheat flour, margarine, peanut butter, baby food, tea, coffee, and soup powder. Poor South Africans need an affordable source of protein as the budget is squeezed. We demand that government cut fuel taxes and levies to lower the cost of transport. This will decrease the cost of food and be paid for by acting on corruption and wasteful expenditure, reallocating funds such as the VIP protection budget and opening the economy for growth by implementing the DA's economic reforms. We demand that government reallocate the 50 million food aid to Cuba to feed hungry people at home. Government wants to take 50 million rand belonging to the people of South Africa and use it to provide food aid for Cuba when people at home are starving. No one believes the money will be spent on food aid there. The minister must reallocate this money next week. We demand that government cuts import tariffs on pasta and some chicken categories to bring immediate relief to poor households. We demand that government provides private title to all land reform beneficiaries on state land and landholders in communal areas. This will increase food production and improve food security while bringing down the cost of food. It will grow tax revenue by making land more productive. Unless the growing hunger crisis is tackled vigorously, it will significantly alter the fabric of our society and irreparably damage the lives of all of our people. We demand action, Minister Golondwana. Thank you, Democrats. Viva DA! Viva!
I hear you, Dion George, I hear you. Down with Kodongwala, down. Down with this sack, Kodongwala, down. Family and TA, family. We are tired of Kodongwala, we are tired. must go and sit at home and be tired that time.
Hey, Mina, you must drink a coffee.
Viva DA, viva!
Viva!
Democrats, we are nearing the end of our program now. And we are going to be introducing the Provincial Leader Solly Msimanga to talk to us about why we are here and why it is important that we are fighting this fight. There are many fights and there are many petitions that the DA will run. But this is very important because it affects mna nawe. Sonke apha inhlokolo siyayazi. And that is why this issue touches us deep. Because this is not just about a DA issue, an ANC issue. It's about an issue of pila. Sonke sifuna pila, and currently over 50% of South Africans baphila in poverty. 7 out of 10 young people abana misebenzi. That is a crime. Indobana banga bacha bangabi na future of having work. Abantu abaninzi badependa kula 350 ngolo xesha iphelela eTaxini ungekafiki nase shop. La 350 ayithengi nix. Ngolo xesha ukutya kuyenyuka ngapha. Itaxi iyenyuka ngapha. Abantwana baya esikolweni ngapha. Zonke izinto ziyenyuka ngapha. And then wena funeka usebenzise 350. The reason why the Democrats bengakhathali because bona they don't depend on it 350. Bona bayakhutyelwa ngeBenz neBMW. Bona bayayithengela ipetrol nami nawe. Bona banezindlu zi2 ePretoria nase Cape Town. Bona bayayinika ipetrol. Bona babhadalele imbali. They don't pay for electricity or water. We pay for electricity and water, but they don't. We are the ones who put them here. But if you do not do these things, nisiphe a reprieve kule cost of living. Asizuye kuyilwela lento. Sithi cut the taxes on food. Cut the taxes on transport. Sithi cut the corruption. Liya ukutya imali thina singafumani. Sithi cut lento yenu yothanda utya imali yethu thina singafumani into. Sithi increase the child grant so that abantwana bethu bazokwazi ukuphila. So that we can take children to school. So that abantwana bazokwazi ukukhula and be the future of this country. If we don't do these things, we are raising a generation of children abangasoze bafika apho baya khona. Ngehlobo sensithi siyaqinisekisa into yobana an entire generation of children bazaba basasokola in 20 years to come. Yona nto sisithi lo rhulumente, time is up. If you don't cut these things, we're going to cut you. If you don't cut this corruption and you don't cut these taxes, we are cutting you in 2024. We are tired because we are the ones who put you there. We will be the ones who take you out. And we are going to be the ones who will take you out in 2024. Sifaka urhulumente ozayihoya bonke abantu beli. Ongazuzityela imali yethu esikoleni. Urhulumente uzawuqinisekisa into yobana we increase the child grant. Siyafaka abantu emisebenzini. Abantu bayawufumana imali. Abantu bayawufumana amanzi. Sizawufaka urhulumente we-Democratic Alliance ozawuzisa utshintsho silufunayo. Sithi siyanikhupha ngo-2024. Phumani ANC, phumani! Phumani ANC, phumani! Viva DA, viva! And now the provincial leader of the province, Mr. Solly Msimanga, azosinika amazwi before we go home, azosirhabulisa simve. Niyambona naye ukhafukhafu madodana. Niyambona naye ukhafukhafu bethunayo. Ngena litha, ngena!
Halala DA halala.
Halala, DA, halala. Halala, the people of South Africa. Halala. Halala to the men and women in uniform. Democrats, good morning. Let me tell you about this square that you find yourself in. In 1994, this was one of the voting stations.
Yes.
And it went, the queues was going down this road here. With thousands of people had a dream of a South Africa that works.
Yeah.
Thousands of people and millions of South Africans who stood in queues and said, we are ushering in a new dispensation. We are ushering in a government that will ensure that no more will a child born in a township live a different life to a child in a suburb. They said no more will it be that there will be the poor this side, there will be the rich this side. Let's fast forward 29 years later. As I'm talking to you right now, the gap between the poor and the rich have widened. The gap between those that have and those that don't have has actually grown even bigger. I'm sure that Mandela is rolling in his grave right now and saying, I'm sure I didn't go to jail for this. You know, let me tell you, in South Africa, we don't have a problem of money. We don't have a lack of money. We have a problem of more thieves in government. We have a problem of corruption in government. So it's not that we don't have money. Hey, let me tell you, we've been paying for more. Look at electricity, you are paying for more to get electricity. You're paying for more in terms of fuel. You are paying for more rates and taxes and this and that, but what are you getting? What are you getting? They will come back and tell you, we will make sure that you get 350. As if you were saying that 350 doesn't even take you from the township to town and to come and buy a few of the necessities that you want. We are children are now being born stunted in South Africa. Children are born stunted. Why? Because already the parents are not able to feed themselves. Is this the dream of 1994?
No.
They forgot. And you see, it was Ndate Tambo who won them. To say when the Munati, when the nice things of government starts kicking in, when power starts kicking in, make sure that you don't forget where you come from. But they've already forgotten where they come from. They've already forgotten what got them there. That it was the people on the street that says enough is enough. And I'm telling you, people of South Africa are getting now hurtful. Young people are going to rise and say, we were not there. Stop telling us about the past. Telling us about how are we going forward. Young people will stand up and say, while you're busy messing ESCOM, while you're busy messing rainwater, while companies are busy closing, we are becoming poorer and poorer. We are becoming more starving by the day. We are being attacked every day and night by people who are coming from all over, because even our men and women in uniform don't even have enough vehicles to be on the street to do what they need to do. More and more people are saying, we are starving. And there's a saying that a hungry man is a dangerous man. A hungry man is a dangerous man. Don't ever think of that day when that man stand up, that your bulletproof, that your VIP protection, that Mercedes that is provided by that tax money is going to protect you from there. You will be one of those that the Ramaphosa, when they burn that house and they burn that couch with millions of dollars in it, when you understand the wrath of a hungry man. A hungry man will stand up and say, I've given you 30 years. I've given you 30 years to do something different. But the charity of COVID died. But Eskom hai wajiwa. Kura hauna mo ba sa senyeng moteng. Hauna mo ba sa senyeng moteng. We are now saying people don't even, in certain parts, people cannot even get metsi. Water, metsi. The most basic human right that you can ever have. When we said this a number of years ago, they will take your rights one by one. They will take those things one by one until and have nothing else left. While they are busy saying, no, the minister must have a house and a car there, and a house and a car here, there are those who don't even know what is for dinner tonight. There are those that go, come check us, or maybe if I can get a fish oil, leboroto, letapi, then we'll have something to eat. But when you get to that spaza shop or that shop, right, you realize or you can only have bread and you can have another item, but you can't have those other items because you cannot then afford those other items. And you see, the problem is that if people can realize that in South Africa we don't have a problem here, we don't have shortage of money. We have a shortage of people that have morals. We have immoral people in government. That's what we have. We have immoral people in government that don't care. You know, I hear people saying Amanda, but it looks like South Africans have forgotten what that means. That slogan meant that even if you stood with rubber bullets and with whoever, when people says this is our power and we are going to exercise it, they will exercise it, they will bulldoze you with your guns. But right now it looks like we've forgotten that. So we are saying here to Tate Kodongwa, if you really care about the people of South Africa, there's a few things that you can do. Cut the fuel levy. Because you cut the fuel levy, taxis become a little bit affordable. Buses become a little bit affordable. The trucks that have to put in diesel to transport, goods all over become a little bit less costly to the end product user. And then once you have done that, you then need to make sure that you cut on the basics. These are the basic. Highly luxurious food. These are the basic. Taxi ya borotho. Kona le batho ba ha ke jile ke ha jile slice sa borotho. Bupi ha o ke jile ke ba uretse porridge na re go tse ka porridge le tsukiri. Swana la tsukiri ka ra porridge ka mola, you know that you can face the day. Now when we are taking those that are the basics from the poor of the poor, you are entering a dangerous man. That hungry man will wake up and say, here and no more. They said, if we cannot all have peace and prosperity, then none of us will have peace and prosperity. So if Tami cannot have peace and prosperity, how are we going to have peace and prosperity? You can't. Then and I'm not promoting crime, but government is pushing them into that line. You go to school, your parents have taken their last money because they have pinned their hopes on you to say, maybe if you take this one to school, when he returns, he will be the breadwinner of this house and will have a better life. But then he comes back. When he comes back, he goes and looks for a job. The factories are closing because Eskom is just a mess. Everywhere is just a mess, and people are saying, now we are closing our shops, we are closing our factories, we're closing everything. We are just going to leave South Africa because you have proven that you cannot govern. And we need to put an end to that. I want to say to Tate Kodongwa, I want to say to Tate Cyril Ramaphosa, I want to say to Tate Jacob Mamabon, I want to say to Tate Lesufi, don't ever raise angry people in South Africa. You will not be able to contain the anger. But I want to say to South Africans, there's a way in which we will be able to show them that enough is enough. We'll get petitions to them and say, this is what we are asking you to do while you still have this year and a half before we take you out of power. At least try to redeem yourself and say, at least hurry it. If not, you will go down the history as a liberation movement that kept people in jail. So you were not really liberating people, but you were actually then also ensuring that they remain in jail. So I want to say to the men that I've mentioned and the women in government, if you care about these people, you will do what is right. You will cut taxes where it's most important. You will make sure that where money is going towards corrupt activities is then turned around to go to what is the right thing. You will make sure that the men and women in uniform will eventually get the vehicles that they deserve so that they can go around and patrol us and patrol the factories and patrol the CBD and make sure get missedate. You will make sure that ultimately we don't have Banababa turned into the hobo, into dead people, a hungry somebody, a walking corpse. Because that's what you're doing. We've said, 350. We can't celebrate 350. We want to celebrate Misedeti. But we will become 70 when you are doing the right things and people get Misedeti. So I want to say that in Kotongwa, we have said to you, cut the following. Cut the VAT on chicken. Cut the VAT on beef. Cut the VAT on tin food. Cut the VAT on flour, because out of flour we get bread. Cut the tax on things like margarine. But it becomes a difficult. We are saying our children are born stunted because we are not able to feed them enough. Let's cut tax on baby food as well. Let's cut tax on coffee. Simple thing. Let's cut tax. I don't want to have a choice where kereka sepas out or kereka boroto. Cut tax so that I'm able to buy bonds. We are asking for simple things that 30 years into democracy, we shouldn't be gathered here and asking for these things. 30 years into democracy, we should be sitting here and saying, the dream of 1994 has now become a reality. But now, Mahodu have turned the dream of 1994 into a nightmare for millions of South Africans. Millions of South Africans are saying, a grandmother said something to me that pained me. A grandmother said something and says, apartheid life was bad. Somebody said apartheid life was bad. It pained me to say, even if black people were terrorized, even black people were pushed aside, they were saying, at least I had something to eat. I had a job. I had security. I had a skin hospital. There was a clinic. There was law and order. The dream of 1994 has turned into a nightmare for millions of South Africans. Let me so let's go out there, Democrats, and remind the people of South Africa that there's no organization that hates black people, that hates poor people like this government here. Because if you say you love people, you will not steal from them. You will not charge them ridiculous taxes like you're charging them. You will make sure that life becomes easier for them. But if you hate them, you will make sure that they pay to make your life easy. That's what you do. So I'm no campaign at Democrats. But more than no campaign, let's go and remind the people of South Africa
that the power is in their hands, that they are not hold ransom, corrupt ones, that they have a choice to say enough is enough and stand up and say, let's return to the dream of 1994 and move forward.
Solly Msimanga, viva! Down with these food prices, down! Punting about food prices, punting! Punting about food prices, punting! Punting with this corrupt anti-government, punting! Punting with this corrupt Kotomana, punting! Punting with that cheap, corruptive, considerate, punting! You must go open a bank account and capital. Can't be keeping money under the mattress.
Now, Democrats, we've come to the end of our program. But as we had said initially, we want to send a very strong message to the Minister of Finance. Because the Minister of Finance is going to go table a budget next week in Parliament. And we are saying to him today, while you are busy making your notes, please note that we want you to cut the taxes on fuel. Please note that we want cheaper food. Please note that we want you to increase child grants. Please note that so that you mustn't come with an outdated homework. If he had prepared the speech last month, he must update it now. Because we've come here to tell him that we want it updated. And so now we're going to be handing over a memorandum to somebody from his office to simply say these are the demands that the DA is making, that we want the people of South Africa to be relieved from the shackles of poverty. And now we are sending this message to him to say that these are the proposals. We're not saying these proposals are ours. We're saying we're ready to share them. Because ultimately it is about the people and not about the politics. And that's why we are saying, even though we are opposition, we will give you solutions. Because it's about the people. And so Nagaze Gutata Okani Mama was a treasurer handed over a memorandum so that is sign. Okay,
go with your mind.
Down with this food prices, down! Down with this expensive food prices, down! Away with this expensive VAT, away! Party with this corrupt ANC government, party! Send the food tax corruption, food tax! Food tax corruption, food tax! Food tax corruption, food tax! Yeah, no, the one that's signing is not corrupt, but his boss is corrupt. Down, Cyril Ramaphosa, down! Party was Cyril Ramaphosa, party! Party with this corrupt Kodowana, party! Party with this corrupt ANC government, party! We are tired of these expensive food prices, we are tired! Party ANC, party! Sit down with these expensive food prices, down!
The mic.
Yeah, I suppose good but team.
As far as over to what team.
The only thing that I hate is
the only thing that I hate the only thing that I hate is one doesn't know what date is it today. So I'm surprised. Yeah.
I town with this Kotomala town. Party with this ANC government, party. Away with corruption, away. Away with corruption, away. Down ANC, down. Party of Komalose, party. Everyone that is here, you belong to a branch, you belong to a voting station. You must make sure that we go out, and when we go out there and speak to people, make sure that they are registered. We have thugs now running the city of Johannesburg, where people who are compromised, people who are looting,
who are back in the still Johannesburg. So I must make sure that we go very hard. I myself, I can't have someone in my office who doesn't know the date today. Never. In my office. Let them go with their office. She's asking Solly what is the date today. Let's go.
Hi, we have just now handed over the memorandum and the petition to the Office of the Minister of Finance. We have done so joined by the Provincial Leader Solly Msimanga, our Chief Whip and Dion George. And we are now will be joined by Liam Jacobs, who represent young people. And we have taken this fight here because this is the culmination of our fight to cut the cost of living. Liam, as someone who represents young people, what are some of the struggles that young people have to go through because of the rising cost of living?
What we're seeing is that young people are being starved out of their degrees, priced out of their degrees, not only because of the rising food prices, but what we are also witnessing is that because of the rising fuel costs and the government's inability to scrap fuel taxes and fuel levies, we are seeing that transport costs are staying where they are. And because the government is keeping it this way, what they are doing is they are pricing students out of higher education, and they are stealing the dreams of young South Africans. They are causing young South Africans to starve. They are causing young South Africans to not be able to complete their degrees, and that is what we are witnessing because of all of this.
It's very difficult for anyone to perform optimally when they've never had a nutritious meal. So Liam, what are some of the solutions that we are proposing in order to bring relief to young people and the rest of South Africa?
So there are 5 things that we are proposing. The first of which is that we want the government to cut fuel taxes and fuel levies to reduce transport costs. The second thing is we want to ensure that 50 million rand that was sent to Cuba is reallocated to South Africa so that hungry South Africans are fed. The third thing we want to ensure is that the government reviews and reduces import tariffs on foods that are consumed by people who live in low-income households predominantly. Fourthly, we also want the government to ensure that VAT is scrapped and cut on food items that are consumed by the poorest of the poor, the lowest of the low-income households. And lastly, we want to ensure that a private title is provided to land reform beneficiaries so that we increase the food supply in this country.
And all those are part of our credible solutions that we have brought you on the table. But the most important question now, Liam, is where to from here?
I mean, we can only hope that the Minister of Finance hears us, because I can assure you this much: if the Minister of Finance does not hear us, we are going to continue to take this fight straight to his doorstep. In fact, we are going to push it in Parliament, and we will come back here and we will ensure that we continue to take this fight right to his doorstep, and we will not rest until our demands are met and until South Africans are granted relief.
Thanks very much, Liam. There you have it from Liam, who's the federal leader for the Democratic Alliance Students Union. This is a break or make moment for our economy, and it is for this reason that we have brought this fight here. We will take the fight to the streets, we will take the fight to Parliament, and eventually we will take it to the union buildings, because what we want is to bring relief to South Africans, because we are all suffering under this suffocating food prices and the cost of living. So next week we will be looking forward to the minister's medium-term budget to see if they will be incorporating these solutions in the plan, and we'll be keeping a watchful eye on it. South Africa, thanks very much for joining our broadcast and being with us today. Until the next one, keep safe. Re kaofela.